because it's really important. And again, I want to thank everyone for what you do, for what your organizations do for our cities and our economy. I was really taken by seeing that the arts brought $1 trillion into the US economy following the pandemic. And we want to keep that. We want to help you sustain that. We know what we all went through. I was in the middle of this during COVID. So TJ, what all of this means for me is that if we want to drive visitation, fundraising, engagement, we have to set our teams up for success. When I think about the climate we're in, when I think about, the Giving USA report, another year of declines in fundraising, the arts have always had a challenge in really being that critical donation for so many investors. I've always believed that the arts are essential. And for me, all of this means that we have to confront the role that data silos play in blocking our entire organization from moving forward, the role that inaccurate data plays in moving our entire organizations forward. And this image for me, which Mike and I worked on, I think it was a therapy exercise, when we are in these conversations and it is not pleasant to hear that everyone is having this problem. And this is, of course, not limited to the arts, but we ended up in a situation, right? Because we all, Mike got into this, the idea that we've all had our own budgets and we have our own needs, right, in our departments, but it has to end. What we're talking about today is really setting you on a path of really getting past this friction in our organizations. So what drove me, to your point about what drove me, because I got pregnant in the middle of this, I had no business wanting more work. But what drove me were the pain points of my team and, of course, my personal pain points. I'm always so ecstatic to see Inbox because I think about the frustration that my CEO would feel in these conversations with our stakeholders and not having visibility into the donations and the activity of people making major gifts. She had a meeting with Jack Dorsey once, who gave us several $1 million in our organization, and not having the visibility, or our leaders having to be dependent on email to keep up with the activity of stakeholders. It's really not where we want to be as an organization. She was extremely frustrated with not really having a lens into key activities. And it was a lot for our staff to keep up with keeping our leadership briefed. We were batching and blasting emails. Not sure if anyone knows anything about that, but it's still a struggle for the nonprofit sector to really figure out how to get the right message to the right person at the right time. And that, for me, is one of the critical things that Salesforce is really set up to do. Our annual surveys told us as an organization that people didn't think we knew who they were. Our visitors did not feel like we knew who they were. Our performing arts patrons wanted nothing to do with our visual arts program. And I thought that was okay. We need to understand how people want to engage and how to really break through the noise. The nonprofits are sending more email than ever, 20% increase year over year. From 2022 to 2023, the noise is only going up. Additional pain points, our staff survey, and this is the one that got me the most. Our staff survey came back with almost 100% of our staff experiencing burnout. For myself, I was really taken by how long tasks would take, the manual work, the things that we couldn't get done quickly, knowing the immediacy as a marketer, knowing that retail companies figured this out, almost 15 years ago. We know what time means for engagement as marketers. And then the pandemic came. We had to lay off 40% of our staff. We all went through this as an industry, and we experienced a significant loss. Yes, we had to get through losing our people, but we also lost relationship history. And Mike touched on this as well, right? We've got to get past Excel spreadsheets. We lost so many contact records, but we lost the relationship history. We lost the context, right? We lost the ability to really understand how we could move forward coming out of crisis. And this confronted us with how we were operating, the business risk and how we were operating. So what do you do as a leader? I started thinking about quick wins, and we started tests. We started looking at solutions. We started looking at our requirements as an organization, and how, for me, I wanted to get us in the mindset of really thinking about what modern technology is today. Our staff really wanted systems that were going to help us move our organization forward. We started testing things. Nasira is on today. Nasira led my evaluations of so many of these tools. We fell in love with form assembly. We looked at Stripe. We started using Stripe for a specific program, saw the impact that would happen when we started to integrate new tools, modern tools, but a pattern. I started to see a pattern. Integrates with Salesforce, all of these tools that we were researching and finding that were going to get us across the finish line, help us present ourselves in a professional and a modern way to our community and to our visitors. They integrated with Salesforce. So many of these platforms integrated with Salesforce. I would say the most successful test that we ran was launching Eventbrite at the request of the New York Times, who we signed a partnership with to produce events. This was really to get our visitation up, and the ticketing flow. They told us that it wasn't just about having Oprah and Barack Obama and celebrities in seat. They really told us that the commerce experience was a big part of how they sold out events. They've looked at our current system and they said, no, we want you to test Eventbrite on these events. And for the first time in the organization's history, we started selling out events in a consistent way. This was transformative, and I will never forget how it made my team feel to sell out events, to drive visitation, to be able to sign people in from their phone. We have to think about the impact that technology and innovation really brings to how our people feel. Insights and automation became their expectation. So my vision was to improve the experience of our team and our visitors, of course, but a huge focus for me was on our staff. What would help them collaborate better? I think, Mike, I counted about 8 or 9 times he said collaboration, right? We need to work from anywhere today. I have to tell you that I work in a company with 70,000 people, and I'm getting less internal email now than I did in an organization with 70 people. So let that settle in. How much time do we spend checking our inbox, trying to get through email? I would have to go through emails at night. I would have to spend several hours, and it contributed to my burnout. And that was real. My vision was to really think about how the workflows and automations that I learned that Salesforce brought to the table would dial up their efficiency. Mike mentioned generative AI, the prompts that we're seeing and what we're going to reveal at Dreamforce this year in terms of generative AI being integrated into platforms like Tableau are going to blow your mind. I can't express enough what's happening. And I wanted to be on the journey with an organization that is spending $2 billion and more in R&D. Mike talked about security. I wanted to really think about how much of a commitment this is and being on the right side of innovation. Our staff wanted more transparency around our data. They wanted more visibility, and that all roads led to a single source of truth. The biggest challenge for me was breaking down our data silos, getting everyone outside of those Excel spreadsheets. So in terms of differentiating factors, and this for me is the most important part of the question that you asked, TJ, every department, in fairness, right, where we've got things we've got to get done. We have our own budgets, we're looking at solutions, but we got to slow down and talk about integration as an organization. And I encourage all of you to have someone sitting in your organization who is focused on integration. I had the analysts on my team and my marketing team run this entire process and own the idea of what it meant to really talk to the whole organization and get feedback, do a discovery. What are our requirements as an organization? And start to really dial back us moving too quickly and licensing things and start to look at integration. The strength with Salesforce for me, the aha moment for me was thinking about the iPhone and the smartphone without apps, thinking about not having the flexibility of going on to an app exchange or an app store as we know it with Apple, thinking about what it would mean to not have the freedom to integrate the tools that I need to run my personal life. I want that for our businesses. I want us to have the flexibility to look at our requirements and think about what systems can connect into a central single source of truth. Our advantage, Salesforce, for me, when I ran an evaluation and I looked at the market, again, I kept seeing the volume of apps that really appealed to our organization and met our requirements. It really came down to having a lot of choices. And what you get with integration is more intelligence on each person. So now you can unlock, maybe you can get to that detail that's going to drive an engagement and drive someone to take action. So again, if the goal is fundraising and engagement, for me, we owe our marketing and fundraising teams, our entire organization, accurate data. That's where we need to get.